Welcome!
Oh no.
And that was the last we saw of Benny.
Welcome to Absolutely Marvel and DC. And nope, this is the DC thing today. Today we're talking about Flash Season 7 episode I lost count. What is it?
9?
9.
I think 9.
9.
Yeah.
This is...
We'll go with that.
My name's Benny. That is Daniel.
Don't stop trying to point, because it's different on everyone's screen.
That is Daniel.
You're pointing the wrong way.
And that is Jeffrey R. Lizard.
You're
now a
used
lizard
Jeff
man.
too many times.
I have? Okay. This week you are Siegfried.
Okay.
This is Siegfried,
You know
our
what?
third
Siegfried.
host.
That's
Very
not bad.
dignified. You're very dignified, Siegfried.
Yes.
I believe you're a part of the Warriors 3 now.
Awesome.
Welcome to our show. We're going to be talking about Flash, the current episode. We're going to be giving our opinions, thoughts. I'm very mixed on this episode, but let me give you a quick recap. Flash opened up the episode with Barry deciding we need to remove the additional forces. This entire episode decided to turn them into children. And then Barry and Iris were arguing over destroying the forces or not destroying the forces. Barry watched the birth of his now children, while Iris tried to convince them that she was their mother. And now they're good, and we're going to teach them how to be good. And that was the episode.
I really wish that you were like being exaggerating or something like that. But no, that's legitimately what they were doing, is these forces are my babies. And one of them's like, we should kill our babies before they're born.
They didn't even try to make it like subtle or imply that this is. They were just like, no, these are our children. It's like, what?
the core of the episode. The forces need to be destroyed. No, we can teach them. I loved that idea. It's a good direction to take the show. It's new cast members, new plots. We got to bring back Strength Force Alexa, I think her name is.
Yeah.
I liked that. I liked all of that. I loved bringing back Harrison Wells. We'll talk more about that in depth. But I do want to talk about the elephant in the room, where this children behavior thing, like the whole episode, I was siding with Barry. Barry is like,
Right.
we have to kill these forces. They are inherently bad. They are using their powers for bad. And everyone is like, but Barry, we can't kill them. What if we can reform them? And I'm just like, what are you even talking about? They are spectral forces. They have like no sense of up to this point. They haven't had a mind. They're not real people. They were in the bodies of other people. The only sentient one was Nora, which also blew my mind that Iris is like, what about Nora? And I just wanted to be like, Iris, that's his dead mom. That's not, she's not alive. She's not real. That is the embodiment of the Speed Force that he uses to talk to Barry. What the hell about Nora? It's not Nora. It's not like she's like, no, Barry, I am your real mother brought back to life. That was never even stated, Iris.
Right.
My whole issue with this is, so the problem that is presented in this episode is that the forces are going haywire and they need to be dealt with.
Right.
Iris wants to talk them down like they have in the past, which is a good, I'll give them credit. That's like cool that they're going in that direction, because that's something that they've been doing in the show recently.
It maintains the general idea that like, no, everyone can be redeemed, and that's what the Flash seems to be all about.
Exactly.
Right.
And then Barry's whole thing is that he wants to go back in time and remove the powers from these real people who existed, so that they never had their powers and they would never know the wiser. And then the questions of consent get brought up, but Barry's like, this is our only option. Which, like, yeah, I was on Barry's side at that point, because, like, yeah, that's quick, no one will know, whatever. It's got to be done.
And the people that they took over will be normal again. Because up until this episode, Dion, the psych guy, and Alexa were just normal people who had powers. This episode made the powers the people. Like, oh, they have their own minds, their own drive.
That's my issue, is they had the reason for Barry coming over to Iris's side and the side of the show, it should have been Barry, like in the Dion scene, it should have been Dion more clearly saying, I am not Dion anymore. I am the Still Force. If you remove my powers, you will kill me, which is what is shown to happen when Barry goes back. But no, the answer is he sees some pretty lights and he's like, I'm a papa. And then he suddenly doesn't want to kill them.
Yeah.
No.
It's just like
That's
Iris
not
giving the speech that she's
consistent.
like their mother. I'm like,
oh my god.
wait, what? I'm like your mother.
But you're
What?
5 years younger than me. No. I will. So, okay, hold on. Before we continue, am I the only one, though, that when Barry was like, oh, we need to go back in time to stop the forces when they go out, did he forget that one of the forces time travels? Like, doesn't... that was my first thought, was I was like, technically the still force, after being created, went back to a time long before, and then we get into time travel.
Did it?
Nonsense.
I don't know if that...
But-
I guess if Dion did, yeah, because Dion did go back into the 90s or whatever.
Yeah.
So I guess, I don't know, time ripples both ways.
Time
Well-
travel. Time travel speedster bullshit.
It's a mess.
That's
I
all we really
also
need to talk
like
about
how
that.
they were very clearly like, okay, no, we can't time travel again. Remember Flashpoint? He's like, but what if I just do this one little thing? What if it's just a little thing this time?
Yeah,
Come
but
on,
I
Fox.
wanna.
It's kind of, I don't know, like the core idea of moving the show into a direction where we're now going to take care of them. That's great. I like that. I thought that was a lot of fun. But this whole, I thought the father-daughter weirdism was gone with Nora when they suddenly were like, we now have a daughter that's fully grown and we're going to treat her like she's our actual
Oh, we're talking
daughter.
about that Nora now, not
Yeah,
the
that Nora.
current
Right.
Nora.
And I thought like that was the weird season with the weird parental thing.
Right.
Now they're trying it again. Like, did that season do so well that they're like, we need more kids? They need kids.
I'm guessing that this plot line is going to lead into Iris actually being pregnant. They're going to
I could see that.
be parents, test parents on these forces for whatever reason, and they're going to work together to raise them and fix them. And then Iris is going to be like, Barry, we can do this. And then it'll fade to black like in Mass Effect, and then the next episode she'll be pregnant.
With twins, Dawn and Dawn.
Twins. Oh no. They just erase Nora from the timeline.
Yep.
One little change.
well,
I think my
and
biggest problem...
This is a very slight spoiler for people who don't want it, and I'm going to give you guys a quick moment. I'll wave on the screen when you can unmute or skip ahead. But there is the leaked photos that somehow Nora's going to be involved. Nora.
That makes
That's right.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't like Impulse coming back too?
Yeah.
Or something?
And that's
or
just it.
not
Like, the
coming
two of
back,
them are-
but like coming to the show.
Well, and the photos of Impulse showed Nora, and I noticed that none of the photos involving that were like, Nora's back. So I don't know if it's like she's going to have a 2-second cameo, but.
Right.
So.
I mean, it would make sense because they're from the same time.
There, I'm letting them know they can come back.
But yeah, I think they're definitely doing like a parental like weirdness through line, which like I would be okay with if Iris was a stronger character, or they kind of made it more clear that this was, because when Iris was part of creating, like bringing the Speed Force back to life and creating the other forces, I didn't really see that as Iris. I just saw her as a conduit because the writers just didn't know what to do with her, and it doesn't seem like she really had a hand in doing that. And this episode really reinforces that, because they're like, oh, you've got kinetic energy inside of you because we need you to have that. It's like,
You're a dowsing rod for the forces, because that makes sense.
because why not? And it just seemed like I agree that the direction they're going in theory is interesting and is a little different, because it's not just punch the bad guy, which is very welcome, but yeah, they just wrote it really weird.
Yeah.
It's very strange the way that they did this.
I feel like I'm nitpicking, but the writing just felt so all over the place.
It's
really
felt that
did.
way for the past couple episodes.
Well,
to be
yeah, but
honest
it just
with
felt
you.
like the whole Barry argument, the whole Harrison Wells being on his side, Harrison Wells' return, which we didn't even mention yet, felt so underwhelming. Like, oh, I don't want to run through time. Now we just got a Wells that can port me through time. Like this,
Yeah.
we won't be abusing this.
Also, I love the just lack of care in the writing that was demonstrated by having a scene where they're talking about the effects and consequences of time travel, cut to Barry's gonna solve it by going back in time and taking someone from the timeline and bringing them back to the present. It's like, and they don't even mention it. Cisco's not like, what is that gonna do?
Yeah, well, not only that, but I also like he went back to Harrison. Harrison now lives with his wife who's dead. So I'm just also like, where did Harrison go? How is she alive? Did he do I pulled her and I went 20 years in the future?
Yeah, he went back and grabbed her or something.
Yeah, because he was like, I can time travel. I'm going to go relive the years that I had with my wife before I lost her.
I think it's
something like that.
I think he went back. No, I was gonna say he went back to the point where Thawne took over his body and relived those years. But I think he just is like reliving their life. But clearly their life is different because in the year 2000, I don't think they were in Costa Rica or wherever they are.
Yeah.
Starling City, that's where they were. Because apparently Starling City has beautiful beaches.
Well, duh. I mean, obviously, everyone knows this.
But yeah, I don't know what's going on there. I don't know how that hasn't made any time ripples, because the show cares about those so much, even though you have another entirely other show that doesn't care about time travel ripples and is much better off for it.
I wonder if they were going to do that now, because in general, I wonder if they're going to do that now with what they're doing for the time travel. Like Barry, going forward, they're going to be like, but see, nothing changed, Cisco. Let's go again.
I have a
do
feeling
whatever we want.
I have a feeling they did it, and that's the reason why Impulse is going to come back. And I feel like he's going to come back and be like, dude, stop. You think you didn't do something, but you just screwed up everything in the future. Like, dude, what the hell? I mean, I'm supposed to be the impulsive one.
Right? Yeah. I would be okay with that. I like when shows kind of like there's the dramatic irony of the show is like doing something and they're portraying it as correct, but then like and your audience is like you're doing it enough to where your audience is a little frustrated, but like the shoe drops eventually and you're like, oh, cool. It's like I'll be vague about this, but for anyone who's seen The Good Place, like the ending of season 1 of The Good Place is a good example of that, where it's like, oh, okay, so you're doing something here, but you didn't tell us until now.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting way to do stuff like that. It can be frustrating, though, while you're watching it before that shoe drops.
The whole kids thing, this episode felt almost identical to the episode with Nora. I'm glad you actually brought Nora up a little bit ago. The daughter Nora, not the adult Nora, nor the older Nora that was once Nora, but not this Nora.
I still don't understand why we're supposed to care about her. I really don't.
Too many Noras.
But my point being is this episode felt almost identical to the one where Barry and Iris were discussing whether or not to take Nora back to the future or something like that. They have their difference of opinions, and then Barry just kind of does his own thing.
Right.
That's what this one kind of felt like. Like, it was almost the same thing of, well, we shouldn't time travel. Well, I want to get rid of it. Well, I want to try and fix it. Well, I'm just going to go do it. You could do that.
Yeah.
And I'm time traveling, so technically you don't even know I'm doing this. So, and like, that's just kind of the vibe I got in this, is the entire episode. I'm like, so where is it supposed to be new besides the fact that they're forces? Also, at first, when they started doing the weird storm, I was like, is this going to mysteriously create a new force?
I was thinking that too.
No, it's going to mysteriously create another reverse flash.
Oh, God.
Of course.
I don't know. I just hope, because, like, look, the Nora season with their kid wasn't terrible, but it just had a lot of weirdisms where it's like your adult daughter has come back in time and she's acting like she's 12 and you're acting like you're in your 40s and you're all like 2 years apart. This is very weird and awkward, and it's like, I feel like Flash likes to bring up things that they don't want us to discuss. Like the whole... Like, I'm going all the way back to season 1 or 2, and everyone likes to be like, don't bring it up. It's like Iris and Barry were brother-sister for like 20 years of their lives. Cool. That kind of thing does happen. We can ignore it. It's fine. Everyone wants the West Irish ship. That's fine. Then they come back and like, Nora's actress is like the same age as everyone else, and she's now acting like she's 12, which is really weird and awkward. Dan and I stated that a dozen times during that season.
Yes, we did.
And then Barry and Iris were so like, no, it's our kid. We just met her yesterday, and there's no way that this could be in any way possibly a negative thing. This is all legit. like once again they ignored it, and it just was kind of like, all right, well, this is something the writers want us to ignore, and I feel like they're doing that again. They're like, those forces are your kids. We're going to ignore the Dion person. We're going to ignore whoever's in Psyche's mask, and we're going to ignore Alexa because your kids are the forces. And hold on. Dion is like in the middle of, is he Dion or is he the Force? Psyche is apparently all Psyche Force, but Alexa is Alexa. You notice that? She didn't get up and go like, Mom, Dad!
They're not consistent with it at all. And that's why, like, I appreciated what they were trying to do with Dion when he was like, I'm not that guy anymore. I just am the Still Force. But yeah, they're not staying consistent with it. And I'm sure it'll be like, if the forces are inherently bad, which, it's weird because they're dangerously close to making this like a mythological epic. Barry becomes like this like god and he's creating stuff and he defeats, because you have gods here. Like the Speed Force is a force of the universe. Yeah. So are the rest of them. So like you're getting, and I imagine if they do a twist like that on it, where like if you give in to the forces, you become that force and you lose your humanity. That's kind of interesting. I'm okay with that.
I don't think they're gonna.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to do that.
It might be loosely implied, and we'll never get a definitive answer if that's what happened or not.
Yeah, like it won't, like I like the moments that we get of the Speed Force kind of losing it and showing that they're not like, they're not Barry's mom. They're this force of nature that is angry.
What is with Iris and her side of the camp arguing on Nora's behalf? Nora is still just the physical embodiment of the Speed Force that created Barry. Barry didn't create her. She's not like their kids, like the whole Iris argument. Also, Iris is like thirsty for a child. Can we just say that real quick?
She baby crazy.
She's so baby crazy. She went to Psyche. She's like, I'm like your mom. I'm like your mom. Like, oh my God.
Wonderful
Iris.
writing.
Yeah, you're going
dialogue.
insane, Iris. Just have a kid. Please just have a kid. A real kid. You are baby crazy. It's just, but anyway. She's like, she wants to treat Nora like another of her children. But Nora, it didn't start in this season. She was from before this season. She is the physical embodiment of the Speed Force. She's not actually Nora. She said that multiple times. I am not Nora. I am just, this is easier on you, Barry. If you want me to change, I will. And constantly Iris is like, but what about Nora? We can help Nora. I just want Barry to be like, bitch, that ain't Nora. That ain't my mom.
It's frustrating because the show clearly wants this like weird family dynamic to happen.
Yeah.
Like they want Barry to have his surrogate like mother in the Speed Force. They want Iris and Barry to be this strong family unit with children and everything. And they're pushing this narrative that just when you look at it for a little longer than they want you to, it falls completely apart. Like Iris and Barry are brother and sister. Barry's mom is a god that does not care about him. Like, there's just so many things wrong with this picture. And you, like, have a family there. Like, Barry, Cisco, Wells even, to an extent. He's kind of weird because he's been through so much continuity nonsense.
He's like Cisco's cool uncle.
He's another one
That's
that we're
what I
supposed to
consider
ignore
real.
at this point.
exactly.
And the fact that you could tell they want us to ignore it because when he showed up, he's like, look, I'm the exact same Wells you've known. I have all of their memories. We're just gonna don't question any
don't
of
think about it.
I'm just the exact same. It reminds me of Beer Fest. Where he's like,
yes, landfill.
Dad did it yesterday at our D&D game. He's like, how about you guys just call me Roy? And we pretend I've never died.
Yeah, they really the writers just want you to accept that this Wells is all of the Wells. They want to have their cake and eat it too. They're like, we want all of the Wells back in this one Wells, even though we just did that in a better way. But this time, they're in the body of a Harrison Wells that you and everyone on this team really don't know.
Yeah.
Except, I have
he's
a feeling that
he's established that by being the only Wells that wants to go get his wife.
Yeah, right. He's not interested in helping them.
It's that, and they're also like, you know what, I'm sure the actor was like, look, I know you want all the different Wells. Can we at least have one where I don't do a funny voice?
He's just back to the original, but like he's not evil.
No, yeah, he's
The
not doing
original-
he's not
hold
doing
on.
the whispers. He's
It's
he's actually talking normal now. Like
The best part about the fact that it's the original is technically the original never met any of them.
That's
'Cause
what I was
the original
saying.
died before.
They don't know them. Like the
the
whole
only
relationship
ones
where
who know that well is Cisco and Caitlin. And that is
that's-
barely even because I'm
Barely,
pretty sure
'cause that's
Thawne hired
before.
them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's
Oh,
like I
my
don't know.
God.
I don't remember exactly what the timeline is, but I think Thawne is the one responsible for hiring Cisco and Caitlin. So like there is no this original Harrison Wells like doesn't have ties. He definitely doesn't have ties to Barry. Like they never met.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
basically.
yeah. But don't worry, he has all the memories. So let's just ignore the fact
course.
of a different Wells. Let's talk about the other elephant in the room. After like 2 seasons of rumors that Cisco is leaving, now there's a plot of
yeah.
Cisco leaving.
Is he? I thought he wasn't, but now
But
it's
he
like
wasn't
is.
also. But they were very clearly like, we have to get out of this. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's like what we're gonna talk about Supergirl in a bit, Benny and I. In like a world of these CW shows where they really just need to trim their cast down. Like I'm glad they're doing that, but not Cisco.
Yes, don't get rid of the good guy.
Yeah,
I mean, he's
They're
the
gonna
one
get
that
rid
we
of Killer
stay for.
Frost.
Like the
I gotta feel like
glue
Killer
of
Frost
the
would never-
episode.
Yeah, they get rid of Killer Frost, no offense, Caitlyn actress, but the better version of the two characters. Was
She plays
definitely
both of them. I
Frost.
don't
I
think
was gonna
Daniel
say, how are
Penn
you
is gonna
offended?
be
I know,
cheated.
I'm like, how dare you act like this terribly, but act like this fantastically? You are awful. No, like they get rid of the better version there. We get rid of Cisco. Like, luckily Chester has grown on me. I will say that. So it's
Yeah.
like without Cisco, as long as we keep Chester for a while, I'm not sure how I'll feel because I feel like a lot of what I like in Chester is the Chester-Cisco dynamic. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. But yeah, no, they're getting rid of all the good people.
Speaking of Chester, I the moment where he pockets like the part of the harness that is, I guess, the part that actually makes it work, and they're looking at the fried harness, and these 3 super smart scientists are looking at it like, oh no, it's all broken, and none of them realized that there was a massive part of it missing. So when Chester brings it out, they're like, "You're the best! Where was that?" It's
That's
like,
what I was thinking too. I'm like, wait, how did he hide? Like, none of them realize. That'd be like Dan and I bought 2 cameras, one breaks, and Dan's just upset, and I'm like, Dan, second camera. Like,
It's like you get somebody fries your computer and the graphics card isn't in there and nobody notices that it's missing until like the guy who hit it pulls it out and it's like, "Oh, is this what you were looking for?" It's like, "What? How did nobody notice that?"
I don't know. It was a weird episode. I like where they're taking the plot, but this whole episode just felt like a lot of weirdisms. I'm not gonna lie. If we now have Iris going to a 18-year-old Dion, what appears to be like a 25-year-old psych, and Alexa that's like in her 20s and is like, "I'm your mom."
Yeah, they need to stop with
Yeah,
that
like-
specific language.
Yeah.
I'm like your mom's side. I gave birth to you by manipulating weird Speed Force algorithms. Like,
You know what this is? It's a Grant Morrison comic book. That's what this is. But the problem is they're not going to full tilt into it. Like if Iris shows up and starts like floating above them and is like, "I am your creator." Like that's awesome. Like, give me that. But that's not going to happen.
I feel like the writers want them to have kids for some reason. Maybe that's the demographic. Maybe that's what, but they don't want to go all in on it and give them a baby because it's notorious that when a baby arrives in a sitcom or a show, it kind of creates a lot of problems writing wise. So their answer is, we'll give them kids and make them act like they're their kids and problem
Keep
solve.
skipping the hard part.
Yeah.
They've
Yeah.
done it in the past. It's weird. They're just doing it again, but like way weirder.
It's like Married to Children when they had an extra kid and they named him 7 and he arrived 7 years old. And there's no acknowledgement of it. It's just we wanted a 7-year-old so we could do plots.
Okay.
A lot of shows have
then.
done that, or they'll time
Weird.
skip. Last Man Standing just did that, where they're like, "Wow, you had a
Time
kid."
skips are okay.
So 5 years, we're going 5 years in the future. Now the kid's a toddler. This will be fun.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, that's comic books. Comic books do that all the time. Like,
Yeah.
a time skip can be used in a very powerful way, but also it can like be super lazy.
Oh, 100%.
So
I mean, let's be honest, Flash kind of does the reverse time skip of just grabbing something from the future and bringing it to the present, being like,
Right.
it was here the whole time. No, I
Look
just
at you,
hope,
Nora.
I really hope one of the forces, when Iris makes a "I'm your mom" comment, just goes, "You're like 3 months older than me. What are you talking about?"
Yeah, like or just like, what? You're crazy. I don't.
Yeah.
That's why, like, I get where they're going. Like, the problem is they want to have it be an actual human connection.
Yes.
But it only works on like this heady, like, supernatural level because like you said, like, no person, like, if some woman came up to me and was like, "I'm your mother," but she's like the same age as me, I'm gonna be like, "What are you talking about? Get out of here."
I feel like if they really want to do like a Nora style kids plot that they're going to teach the kids, just have you're literally using every other science fiction trope ever. Just have Iris have a kid in a single episode. I'm giving you a plot idea, writers. She Speed Force logic gets pregnant. The baby is born in the episode. Baby ages to 13. Baby stops growing.
no.
Done. Right?
And then it's revealed that the baby was the one who impregnated her in the first place.
Oh, not
and
Captain
Iris
Marvel.
is
No,
Carol
no.
Danvers.
We're not Captain Marveling this.
See,
But you just
this
do that
is-
one. You just do that one. And then you reveal the baby's
Sorry,
thon.
skip the last step.
You reveal the baby's thon, and there's your whole plot. Is he going evil or not?
No. We're diving back into the Captain Marvel plot.
Let's be honest, though. If they wanted to do the Iris has an actual kid, but they want it older, it would be a Iris has the kid. She's in danger from one of Flash's enemies. Flash runs her into the future to protect her,
Yeah.
brings her back, and it's like, hey, the kid's 13 now, and they were just in the future for this long. But
And you could easily
still
do that
looks
one
the
too.
same.
Like, oh, we insta-aged. Why don't you guys look older?
Yeah.
Comics.
There's
Yeah.
a million
Speed
ways
Force.
to do this plot point that they're wanting to do way better than what they're doing. I think that's what we've realized.
I think my concern, and the reason why I'm harping on this plot point, though, is this plot point, one, didn't exist before this episode. At no point were Iris
No.
and Barry like, well, we made the forces, so they're like our kids. You know what I mean? So this plot point came out of nowhere. And the fact that it did come out of nowhere, it's going to be a plot point for a while. It's not, I will be
This is the
surprised.
status
Yeah.
quo for a
Yeah,
bit.
if this is the only mention we ever get of Iris being the mom to these forces, we know it's not. We know it's going to be more.
Maybe a different writer wrote the next episode and just because again, like, I'm fine with the implication that is the relationship that's happening here, but they just need to stop like specifically saying it because it brings to mind like all of the weirdness that comes along with that and just doesn't work.
Like, I'm
Yeah.
cool with the demographic being like, oh God, it is like her kids. Now she has kids. That's fine. But the rest of us comic book heads are like, that's just weird, man. You got a woman who I'm assuming is in like her early 30s going to a dude that's probably in his late 20s and just being like, I'm like your mom. I'm like your mom.
You have powers and I don't. But I'm like your mom. I touched an orb.
It's like we're in a horror movie, which really added to the whole like creepy aspect that Psych made that house at the time. Like, if you think about it, Psych made a haunted house, and you got a woman going, "I'm your mom."
Starts crawling
Very
on the
different.
ceiling. Ah, let me love
no.
you.
That spins.
We were one head spin away from Conjuring. I'm just saying.
True.
At first, I will say, when they go to the house and it was Barry's like old bedroom, I thought it was Nora messing with Iris, being like,
Yeah.
this is my child. Like, I am Barry's mother, because, you know, in a way, that makes more sense, honestly, than
That
Iris being
argument
the
would have
mother.
made more sense. Yeah.
And it was like oh my God, this is gonna go into like a super like screw with Iris. Nora's like messing with her, being like, no, this was his childhood. This is why you're never gonna be to him what I am to him, or something like
Yeah.
that. But no, it was Psych, who apparently knows exactly what Barry's childhood room looks like.
Sure.
Or child house, but you know,
I guess you
whatever.
could say Iris knew what it looked like.
Yeah, I mean, he
and
is a
Psyche was
Russian
just
guy,
tapping
so
into
we'll
that.
Yeah, that's that.
But-
I could see that, but
The You mentioned that it makes more sense for the Speed Force to say that Barry is her son, and I agree, because it's the inverse, right? Like it's a force of nature, saying that something that she imbued with her power is her creation, which makes a lot more sense than the opposite, like a human being like, I created you and I'm your mommy, but I'm like a normal human who knows that's weird.
Right, yeah, because Iris is a normal person with no powers, and no point has she had powers outside of like a one episode weird plot point. And the only thing that they created was they pressed a button to disperse it. Like you didn't even, Iris and Barry didn't even make the artificial Speed Force, right? Like, wouldn't did they actually make it, or is it like Wells and Cisco and they pressed the button?
Well, I mean, everybody helped, but like
everyone had a hand in it, so they could all.
Yeah.
So why is it like Cisco? Like, I'm also one of your dads, and they're like, it's like our three dads, Harrison, Cisco,
I guess
and Barry.
they could.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
there's nothing.
We're gonna go into a new show. It's 2.5 forces.
No. God.
All right, this discussion's gone on for over 30 minutes. Let's go ahead and wrap it up. Overall, I liked the plot. Obviously, we had some weirdisms in the writing for this particular episode. I'm excited to see how they're going to handle this. If this is just going to become a weekly, why is she saying that gripe again? Which is what was like 4 seasons ago, or maybe 3 seasons ago. Basically, when she was like the We Are Flash season, I think that was our biggest. Why is she saying that? Like, a moment.
Yeah, the show just doesn't really know what to do with Iris, and every time they they pick a lane for her, and we're like, that's okay. Then they decide to wrench her out of it and do something even weirder with it, and that's where we're at
The
now.
reporter who owned her own company with her 2 sidekicks was great.
Yeah, that was
I
great.
loved those plots because they also used her to get information for Barry, Cisco, and everyone. Like, she was important and integral to so many plots, and now like she's like Scooby-Doo. They went to a haunted house with their 2 friends, and they were. I was waiting for like one of the girls to be like, "Ah!"
My glasses. I can't see anything without my glasses.
All they need is a dog to go with them.
Oh God! Don't suggest it to them. Don't suggest it.
Next episode, she's like, you know what? I realize I've been having a lot of weird mommy issues. I just got a dog, and it's a Great Dane. It's brown. We're just gonna call it Scoobs.
Fair enough.
All right, thank you guys for joining us today. My name's Benny. That is Dan, and that is Philippe the Siegfried the Fourth. And
that was regal.
My full name.
That was,
and he will be back. And Siegfried will be back next week. Dan will be redubbed into the Flash. Why'd you wear red today? You literally are just saying I'm Grant Gustin.
I know. That's what I was trying
Subliminal
to go
message.
for.
Is that a velvet hoodie?
No.
I'm
But
jealous.
it's soft. It is quite soft, though.
Thank you for joining us today. We'll see you next week.